Hey guys, Jeff Lathrop here in Olympia, Washington. I've got a little bit of a different episode for you today. I thought we would bring an expert on from the cybersecurity field, and I just thought I'd break down some info on cybersecurity in general and how we can be a little more protected. I upgraded my personal computer recently. I just noticed I wasn't using the same security measures that I am for my work stuff, so that's kind of what prompted the whole video. So I'll bring our expert on here. Hey Emily, welcome to the show today.
Hey Jeff, so nice to be here.
Thanks for joining us. So first, let's start off with a brief introduction. I wonder if you could tell us a little bit about who you are and Rubica, and we'll start there.
Yeah, so I'm pumped to be here because I think we're going to do some cyber myth busting today. So Emily Carrion, I am a startup veteran, you could say, and I'm currently the chief marketing officer at Rubica. And Rubica is it's a mobile security app, and you can think of us as a digital bodyguard for all your devices. And so basically our job is to make advanced cybersecurity so effective and easy that cyber criminals can no longer steal your digital identity, your financials, and your really precious data. So we do this. Rubica Cybersecurity it's an encrypted VPN. It's real-time threat intelligence. It's malware and phishing protection, and we even have experts you can call.
Okay, cool. So that sounds like really comprehensive. It sounds like you're getting the full package. Let's break it down a little bit because I know, like for myself included, I'm familiar with VPNs. I know that I log in through one for some of loanDepot stuff. Our software where we actually load the loan like run your decision and get all your details, it's web-based, so we're able to log into it from anywhere, but we do have to go through a secure portal, and then they text you to your phone, an additional login measure. So we've got that, but after upgrading, added a couple new drives, new RAM, like fully cleaned up my personal computer. And I'm not taking this one anywhere, but it got me thinking about, if I take my personal laptop, I'm not logging in through a VPN if I was to go to a coffee shop or if I'm traveling or anything like that and getting on a network other than my home network. So that's probably not very secure. If I'm securing my work stuff, I should probably secure my own stuff, right? So maybe we could talk about what a VPN is. We'll just start there and let's just break down cybersecurity in general and we'll go from there. So can you tell us a little bit about what a VPN is and what that does and maybe why we need more than just that piece?
Sure, happy to. So virtual private network, VPN. So basically what it does is it scrambles your activity. So it encrypts it's a tunnel. It encrypts your data from one end to the other. So people can't, I think the word is snoop on your data, and you can't get a man in the middle attack. Someone couldn't intercept your data as you're using it online. So yeah, you definitely want to use a VPN. But to your point, a VPN isn't quite enough. So there's a couple types of VPNs. You just talked about a corporate VPN. So you're using it to get access to loanDepot specific files. And then there's other like personal VPNs. We've all heard of some of them. We might even have one. But one thing to think about is VPNs are not security. They do provide protection as you're using the internet, and they protect from a couple types of attacks. There's actually 52 different types of attacks, of cyber attacks, which is terrifying, right? So you actually want security that protects your machines. So we think of it in layers, right? So your network, okay, a VPN protects the network, but you also want to protect your devices and your accounts. So I'm sure we'll get into a lot more of how to do that.
Okay, so the VPN piece, basically, say you're at Starbucks, you log on to Starbucks Wi-Fi. As you're browsing whatever you want, researching whatever, cybersecurity tips and tricks or how to conduct an interview, anybody could basically see what you're doing if you're not on a VPN. So the VPN will just scramble you. It's like you're driving through a dark tunnel. Nobody can see, but whatever's on your computer is going through that tunnel with you. So if you have dangerous stuff, that's where you would need the security. So once you log on to the network, it's only letting a secure connection. None of the malware that may be on your computer or maybe on Starbucks' network as well from getting back onto your computer.
Yeah, exactly. You had an amazing analogy about this, but it's like basically, yeah, if either end of the tunnel is unprotected, then you're letting like the worst stuff get access to go through that. So you nailed it. You absolutely don't want to do that. And I've just learned about some of the crazy ways that, hackers are really smart. Let's just start there. This is not like the person in the hoodie in the garage, right? They have $600 billion. They have massive budgets, right? They have the best tools. They're the smartest people. So we have to outsmart them too. And then, so what we do at Rubica is we're like, okay, we can't just protect the tunnel. We want to protect your machines, all of your devices, then provide protect your access to the internet and your accounts, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So I mean, it's a kind of a two-stage, philosophy that you want your activity to be hidden while you're doing it. So people, that's the privacy factor, and then you also want to make sure that you're safe from threats while you're doing it, because just like you said, people could sneak a scrambled virus in there. Like you can't see it, but it's still a problem, and so that's where that security comes into play. And anytime, I mean, it's really overlooked, just because you have to go and turn it on and double log in. And so, are there any ways that we can make this like a little easier versus log onto your computer, log onto your network, go through the, dual factor? I mean, we really need to be doing this stuff probably for our security, right?
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like a lot of the things you're doing for work. So, like a password manager, for example, makes it exponentially harder for people so that you can have a very complex password. You remember your master password, right? You make it very a passphrase. You use characters, you use numbers, you make it, long and strong, we say. And then that automatically creates new ones for all the other sites you're on. So I highly recommend using a password manager. And then you also are using what's called multi-factor authentication. So that's when, you get that code. Hopefully it's from an authenticator app or something like Google Authenticator, or maybe it's through a text. But the reason that's important is because if for some crazy reason someone gets access to your password manager, they still can't get access to your bank because only you could get that code. So what you're doing at work is really smart. You have these layers, right? And then a lot of people have heard of like antivirus, right? Like we've kind of been indoctrinated to think that antivirus will protect us. But Jeff, did you know antivirus is like 30 years old?
It's crazy to think that, I mean, even, we're 2020, right? So this technology is getting up there.
Yeah, it was first created in 1987, which like totally boggles my mind. So, moral of the story is antivirus works for certain things, but it misses a lot of other things. So I just learned about this thing called polymorphic malware, which basically 93% of malware morphs. It's smart, right? I was talking about these smart hackers. So it changes. So the way antivirus works is it's rules based. So it's if you have a signature, so like say like a malware signature, and it's exactly this code, it will catch it. But say they tweak one little thing, right? They won't catch it. And I was telling you about this morning. Hackers are so smart that they will drop a piece of code on your machine, and its entire job is to figure out which antivirus you have. So it'll say like, oh, Jeff has Norton. Now we can deliver only antivirus that gets around, we can deliver malware that gets around Norton because they reverse engineered how Norton works, right? Like, that's crazy.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, there's definitely a vulnerability factor there with that technology that, I mean, I know that there's updates to that stuff, but the basic underlying code of how that software is written to perform, like you said, it's rules based. So if it says, watch out for a big giant tiger, and then a big giant bear comes around the corner, you're like, well, not worried about that one. And it's going to still obviously be a giant problem. So interesting. So that kind of leads us to an interesting point. And I know that there's a lot of tech, and this could be probably a pretty long answer, but when it comes to hackers evolving and writing new problems, right? So the antivirus is built on a certain existing set of problems, and it's not really adaptable as far as I know. Do you have a way that you guys can adapt for the future? Do you have like a team of hackers that's out hacking other hackers to try to develop, the new blocks for the new threats, or can this be farmed for an AI machine, like a strong computing service? Or how do you guys prevent against the future? Because that's probably one of the biggest parts of security that you need to be thinking about.
You nailed it. I mean, you have to always be evolving. And what's fascinating about my team, my CTO is a former hacker. And now he's like what they call great hat, right? So now he knows how he wasn't like one of those evil, conniving people, but he knows how hackers think. And so that really helps us as we're trying to protect people, right?
Well,
So
I think
the
as
way,
also, oh, sorry, I don't want to interrupt you, but I think the more you learn about computers, and it sounds like you guys are getting to some core fundamental code writing and functioning of,
yeah,
how a computer works, you do get the curiosity of, okay, well, now I know how everything works. You do see the loopholes, and you see you're either going to be interested in threat protection or exploitation because
yeah,
your curiosity will just take you there.
yeah,
I
for
think with the
sure.
knowledge, right? It's just like becoming a scientist. The more you know about molecules, you're going to be asking different questions and having different ideas that I'm not going to know because I don't know it to that level. So
You got it.
interesting.
Yeah, you got it. So the way we think about security is, how do we always evolve and stay in the future? So that's why we decided to use VPN to deliver security. So how ours work is you just leave our VPN on all the time so that your network traffic is always protected, and then that gives you access to our cloud-based security stack. And the security stack is like two levels, right? So one is that automated blocking. Anything that's known out there, we're just going to block that, right? Why not? We'll just take care of that. But then the part that's unique is it's called anomaly based and behavior based threat detection. So we actually have a team of experts. They're like former Army, former Navy, and their whole job is to look at the data and say, like, oh, this is not acting as normal. Why? Let's go dig into it, right? And it's
Wow.
all anomalized data. We don't know whose it is, but we know something is weird here. So they're gonna go. It's called threat hunting, literally. So they're gonna go hunt and see if they can find something malicious, and if they do, then we're able to, write a rule to block every single future customer from seeing that.
Wow. Well, I think that's really cool that there's a great use of skill set, and it's cool that in a use with, technology, you also have a team of, tough guys crunching and working and threat protecting. I think that's really cool. So interesting to hear that. I would imagine that everything is AI based now for some of that hard, deep computing, but it's
A
just like the mortgage business.
combination,
You
yeah,
still need the professional, and you still need a person to guide it and to see like, oh, this situation is not normal. And so we're going to have to go
yeah.
this route, or we're going to have to deliver this solution. Not everybody is an
You got
ABC solution, right? So that having that actual staff there has got to be a crucial component.
you got
Okay,
it.
so there's one other thing that we want to touch on, at least one other thing that I think would be kind of interesting for our viewers to learn about, and it's whether or not you have any tips or tricks or ideas or myths about phone security. Because we're talking about basically laptops. I mean, your home network, you're going to change You're going to change the password to your router,
Yes,
and
please.
that's going to protect you at home. And right, so hopefully you have router security and you're good. But when you're out and about on those public networks, that's where we're going to be using the VPNs, and we just want to leave it on all the time. But can you use this on your phone as well? Because we're probably on those a lot more, and a lot less and less are we taking around the, laptop and the backpack, and we're just cruising out, with our phones.
I love that you bring up phones, because you would be shocked how many times I get the question, well, I have an iPhone, so I'm secure, right? And
Mm.
it's like, you know, not, you're really
Not
not
really.
secure. And well, what's fascinating, Jeff, is last year there were more malicious files in iPhone apps than in Android apps, which is like a huge myth bust, right? Because we tend to think that, well, Android's an open network, so they're riskier. And yes, there's a lot of risk on Android as well. My point is, you're not immune if you're an iPhone owner. So,
Totally.
I mean, the other thing that's kind of we have to be aware of is, like, with this mix of work and personal on the same device also, if
Mhm.
your kid uses an app and accidentally clicks on a weird ad, because they're really good at showing you weird ads, right? There could be, maybe the app itself isn't malicious, but often the ad networks are, or they're asking you to download a different app. I mean, we found one example where a weather app was tracking your location.
Hmm.
Why in the world would a weather app need to, like, literally GPS track your location? Okay, maybe they need to know your city, but they
Yeah,
don't need to
you could
follow
type
you
your zip code
around.
in. Well, some people might want to be followed for specialized location-based service, but yeah, that is a little creepy for sure.
You gotta be really careful, especially, I mean, I'm a mom, right? So our kids, they are well intentioned, but every now and I'm sure it's not us. We never watch content that we shouldn't. We never click on any ads. But what if someone else uses your phone, right? Or you're on a network that is insecure. So we recommend putting Rubica on literally everything. Leave it on all the time. Let us take care of your security, right? So shameless
And
plug.
so do you have anything that you advise, if you're going to sign up for Rubica, do you instruct leave location-based servicing off, or are they allowed to use that? And maybe it's especially more important if you like, because some people probably just turn it on, or I don't know, I maybe have friends that are not tech savvy, or I don't want to say parents or relatives, people that just, oh yeah, cool, well, no matter where I am, I get the weather. It's like, well, some people just do that. And so is that okay? Or is that like just a big myth right there that
Yeah,
don't
I
use
mean,
that?
like we use Google Maps, right? Like if you need to get somewhere, you need to use your location. But I think it's about being smart about it and like
Mm.
really auditing permissions. So like a calendaring app is going to need access to your calendar. Okay, that's fair. A calendaring app does not need access to your location, probably. Or just so it's just like thinking about it. Like there were some apps that we did a study a year ago, and there were some apps that were literally like they wanted access to all your content to be able to add content to your phone. Well, what kind of content are they adding to your phone? They got access to everything, and it's like, ooh, you don't want to just give like blanket access to permissions. Sure, there's some things like Instagram needs access to your camera. Like that's logical. Okay, no problem.
Right. If you're going to take a picture with the app, it's going to have to access that. So that's something that you're aware of, that, hey, this app, and that's another thing. When I was setting up my computer, it would going through all the default apps. And if you can't uninstall them, make sure that like camera, I don't need you running in the background as a background app. When I close you, I want you to be
That's
closed. Or
Smart.
like calendar app. Calendar doesn't have permission in my camera. So,
Smart.
and I don't even know if that's a link, but some of those things that you can check, it's like, okay, do I really need all of these permissions? Or like, I use a different web browser sometimes, and that web browser doesn't have access to my cameras or my microphone. And so it's just like you said, thinking through it, being smart. If you're gonna turn it on, be aware of it, and then also you're definitely gonna want to have a security. So when you're on the cell phone, I mean, there's some security provided to you, like by AT&T or Verizon or whoever your provider is, I'm sure, right? But we could also log our phone into like a Rubica or a VPN and get security that way.
Yeah, it's super easy. Literally just like tap on. And then if you're watching something like Netflix that doesn't allow VPNs, tap off, tap it right back on when you're back on Netflix. Because something we've learned is, I mean, we've all probably heard about phishing, right? It's like when you click on that sketchy link, it's usually pretty obvious if it's in your email.
Yeah, the
But
one from
something
Stan Smith instead of Stan Smith.
Sure. I mean, some of them are really obvious, right? And we're trained, and our inbox will catch a lot of it for us too. But something that's, I mean, back to this hackers are smart thing, right? So what we found is that 85% of phishing on phones is not an email.
Oh, wow.
That
So
means
how
it's
is it
coming
delivered
from
then?
messages, from Facebook
Of
Messenger,
course.
from all of our different apps, right? Because
Mm.
again, hackers have like morphed, right? So if you don't have any security on your phone, even if you're really good at catching phishing links, it helps if you use like, be smart, right? Like update your apps, check the permissions, like don't click on weird links. But I had a friend call me just yesterday, and she's very savvy. And she called me. She's like, Emily, I'm normally so good, but I was in a hurry and I just clicked this thing, and it was the one device I don't have Rubica on. Like, what do I do? Right? Like, we're not perfect, right? Especially with
Yep.
all this, what's going on in the world right now. So for me, it's just like add peace of mind, right? Like just add a little peace of mind. Like it's $10 a month. It's super cheap. I'm not trying to, this is supposed to be like a Rubica ad, but
Yeah, no,
what I
totally.
told her, I was like, call the team. They'll help you out. Like that's
Yep.
part of what you get. You get access to humans. So call someone on my team. But
Well,
it's
I
just
love
that
being able to
comes
call.
back.
That's a huge feature. But I mean, the security there is a real deal, because if you get hacked, and I mean, even we're doing our call right now through an application called vMix that I actually have on my desktop here. Zoom had a hack. And so there was like a loanDepot even prohibited us from using Zoom for, I don't know, like a month and a half or 2 months, just until they got that sorted out. Because we have financial information, and that was the actual specific. If you went on to Zoom, they were trying to hack through to financial. So it's like, okay, well, that was pretty scary. So now it's been taken care of. All of our loanDepot Zoom accounts are back open approved, which is handy.
Okay.
No problem. But I mean, that's a big factor of doing these things and being protected and having that layer of security on there.
You got it. Yeah.
So, okay, great. Well, Emily, do you have any closing thoughts or any other tips or myths that you want to bust before we get out of here?
I mean, look, Jeff, like I love talking to you about this because you're so savvy. So I guess let's just repeat what we learned. Okay. Antivirus is not enough. Get a VPN that has security. So not just encrypting the tunnel, but get one that has security on both ends. And that includes like your corporate VPN isn't quite enough. No, your iPhone's not secure. Use stuff like multi-factor authentication. Keep your applications updated. Use like good, we call it like cyber hygiene, super nerdy, but use good cyber hygiene and get a password manager. Password managers are very affordable. I think they're a couple bucks a month, if I recall. So that's
do you have any
what
good
I would
recommendations?
recommend.
I know you probably can't plug password managers, but do you have, and those, I guess, so that's another myth for me is I thought you want to remember a specific password for each thing, but because of the dual factor, if it can text you or authenticate the login, having the one password and passwords that update regularly actually would be okay.
Yeah, it's definitely safer than remembering because I think we all have like hundreds of accounts. So personally, I cannot remember a strong password for hundreds of accounts. So instead, I rely on a very strong one password. So what we recommend, we use LastPass, Okta, or 1Password. Those are 3 password managers we like.
Okay, cool. Okay, so password manager is one. That's kind of a little, I was going to say hack. That's maybe a little wrong word to use for this conversation, but that's a little tip we have for making things a little easier. Using a VPN so that all your activity is hidden, and then having security in addition to the VPN so that everything stays safe and you don't get any viruses.
Love it. Yep.
And then, for phones, I mean, like, what about airdropping and stuff like that? Is that okay? Because that seems kind of creepy, you know? Like, here it is, boom.
It's the kind of thing you just don't, like, if you are sitting right over here and we can airdrop a file, right? But then turn it off. Like, don't go walking through the airport with airdrop on. I've seen some really ridiculous, funny things of like people sending people pictures, like to like tell them, yo, leave your airdrop off because I could have hacked you. And like, instead I'm sending you this picture. So it's the kind of thing you just don't leave it on all the time. Use it like just the moment you need it.
But with your VPN, if you have the right one, like a Rubica type of solution, you could just, on that, you kind of want to set it and forget it. And then if you ever have your issue, you just call the real person on the support line. You
got it.
Sweet. Okay, great. Well, thank you for your time. It's been a pleasure chatting with you. And I'm going to close us up if that sounds good, unless you have anything else.
This was fun, Jeff. Thanks.
Okay, great. I'll talk to you soon. Hang on for a minute. I'm going to close out, and then I'll talk to you after the call.
Sounds good.
Okay, guys, there you have it. Some cybersecurity tips, some basics. Hopefully that was educational and informative, and hope you enjoyed it. See you guys on the next one.